Welcome in to the very first episode of Out of Touch. I'm your host, John Alden, alongside with me, Dustin Schutte and Mitchell Page. And you may be wondering, why wasn't there intro music? Especially for those of you who may have followed us from This Week in Indiana Football. Well, after we get things rolling here, that's the first thing that we're actually going to present on this podcast, Out of Touch. We're going to be deciding which intro of the four that I have put together, and these are not my songs. They're songs that I've taken from some YouTube artists and kind of edited to fit sort of an intro format. But before we get into that, let's welcome in Dustin Schutte with us as always, and Mitchell Page, who is in his vehicle. We're used to seeing him do that as well. For those of you who have who watched This Week in Indiana Football, he's always traveling. He's always up to no good. One of my favorite parts of last year's podcast was when, and it probably wasn't a good experience for Mitchell, and I'll let him speak on it, but when you got stuck in traffic on your way out of, I guess it was South Carolina or Virginia, North Carolina, that was one of the most interesting moments on the podcast we used to do. Yeah, and as we say that, there he is.
This is so fitting. He's just gonna cut in and out.
So we've been on here already for a few minutes testing things out to make sure he would be good, and he's been kind of fading in and out. But if he can hear us, well, let's move on to Dustin first. Dustin, what's going on with you?
Not much, man. Just getting situated back in Indiana. I got new carpet. Well, not carpet. I got a nice new rug so I can sit on the floor. Does anybody else do this, by the way? Like, I know Mitchell's on the road and can't really hear or see us at the moment.
And he did just drop out. He should be back with us.
So something that I do. This is really weird, and this is maybe a little TMI for the first episode of this. But like, one thing I do is this is like a nice big, 10 by 7 foot rug, and it's like a shag rug, not that type of shag, but like, the old shag carpet.
Yeah.
I just lay down and turn on music and like just lay on my back, listen to music, and it's very relaxing. Does anybody else do this? Like, I feel like I'm the strange one here.
No, music is one of my favorite random pastimes. I'm going to go ahead and try to bring Mitchell back in. But
could that have been any worse timing?
It's very fitting.
Without recording for 5-10 minutes, perfect, and I just hit the middle of, the biggest dead spot in the state of Kentucky. It's just crazy.
And there's plenty of them, actually. I know you're not a native of Kentucky, but it is a very hilly area with a lot of places where you can't always get the best of service. But Dustin was telling us about how he likes to lay on a shag carpet and listen to music. And I guess as a way of relaxation is what you were getting at, right?
Am I going to have to restate this? So I got this. My apartment is all hardwood floors. So I purchased a big, like 10 by 7 shag rug to put in the middle of it. So that way it looks nice. And there's a place for me to stand without having to stand on the hardwood. But what I like to do is on a random day or whatever, is I'll just lay down in the middle, put on some music, and just enjoy this nice shag carpet around me. It's very comfortable. It's very relaxing. I feel like I'm going to get made fun of throughout the course of maybe this episode and this show, but that's what I did. It's a very relaxing thing for me.
Anyone that says they've never done that is just a liar. When you're having back issues, any kind of tightness, laying on fluffy carpet is maybe the best cure there is. Forget pain medicine, none of that. Massages, laying on a carpet like that is about as good as it gets. I'm not going to make fun of you at all. I do it all the time.
You lay on your back in a carpet listening to music. Like, do you specifically do it with music?
Not necessarily with music, but the dog's on the ground. I lay on the ground. I just did it this morning. I was on the ground for 20 minutes.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I don't mind. I like, we have I guess it's like you said, a shag carpet. I didn't know that was the name of it. And that kind of brings up another thing for me. I'm very, we're not gonna be meta right now. We spent the whole last episode of This Week in Indiana Football being meta, so I'll just go into something else with the music. My favorite way to listen to music, I don't do the shag carpet thing. I sit on my couch, I grab a cup of coffee, and by the way, those of you can see, this is my 4th cup of coffee today. We're recording this in the evening, and that's fine. I think my body's used to drinking too much coffee. Go ahead, Mitchell.
It's nighttime. It's not.
It's nighttime.
It's night.
I'm going. Here's the thing. As long as we record these things at night, I think it's a comfort thing. I think I have to be drinking a cup of coffee. It doesn't. I mean, I've got water with me as well, but I haven't touched it, so it is what it is. But
is it decaf or caffeinated?
It's half calf. So this is my 3rd cup of half calf. I've had 1 cup of full calf, so technically I've had 2.5 cups of caffeine or something like that today. So. Anyway, it is what it is. But I love to listen to music. I do this every Friday, by the way. Every Friday, I take time to go through an album in its entirety. If I'm home, I just get on my couch, grab a cup of coffee, listen to the entire album. It's usually a 45-minute to an hour-long experience, and I love it. It's literally one of my favorite times of the week. I hate it when I have to do it at different places, like if I'm not home, like if I'm at work kind of thing, but sometimes it's how things work out. But that's one thing that I really like to do with music.
I've never done that. Do you have like a record player, or are you just playing it on a speaker?
I play it off of my phone. I usually just, the headphones I have in right now, just plug them into my phone and hook up Spotify, and that's what I do. It's one of the only like weekly traditions that I have for myself, at least in terms of leisure.
I love that.
I think that's a good, like there's some, I don't know what the right word is, but there's like a sense of security in that sort of, what's the other word I'm looking for? In that routine. It's like, It's the end of my week. I'm going to do this. And then I could kind of go into my weekend. So like, I get it. Like it can relax you. I don't think I used to listen to an album. Well, yes, I did, because I had an old record player. I need to get a new one because it broke. But that's what I would do. And I just like listening to music on a record player. And John, you would love this as a music lover. If you're able to get vinyl and a record player and do that, and there's some that you can actually hook up with Bluetooth now. I mean, it is the most relaxing thing. Get you a shag carpet, lay on your back, enjoy it. It's awesome. No, I'm on board with that. That's a great way to end your week.
Yeah, it's something I look forward to, and yeah, maybe we'll maybe I'll share some of my listenings if I have any good any albums that I like as I go through, and it's usually stuff I try to always. It's almost always something that I haven't listened to before. So anyway, before we get into the first thing that I mentioned that we were going to get into, which was choosing our podcast intro while we record the podcast, Mitchell, if you are currently connected with us, which it looks like you may or may not be, what are you doing heading up to Indiana in your car right now for? And I don't believe he is with us right now.
He's disconnected.
Oh, is he back? Is he back? Mitchell. He's giving the camera eye the fist or the finger.
The fist or the finger. You know what this is like? This is like, have you ever seen like when you watch the news and they're trying to catch a bank robber and they just have, for whatever reason, we can send things up into space. We can put people on the moon. We can find a cure for COVID in 6 months, but we can't get better than the still shots. What we see from Mitchell is basically those like crappy, fuzzy still shots that you see from a bank robbery. It's just every 4 seconds, his face is in a different location, all fuzzy. You can't really make out who he is.
This is a nightmare. This is a nightmare. I need to call in a sub. I'm doing you guys a total disservice.
But here's the thing. Here's what I want Out of Touch to be, and I think Dustin would agree with me. I want this podcast to be as raw and off the wall as possible, and I want us to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that's one thing that I think how I want to grow as, at least when it comes to doing these kinds of things. I want to be able to just kind of do whatever and be okay with it. And when there's connection problems, that's kind of part of it. And hopefully for those of you who are listening, hopefully you're still sticking around because, Mitchell's a great guy. Mitchell really is he's going to be, he's going to be the guy who I think leads the charge in terms of just saying whatever the heck's on his mind with this show.
That's true.
Yes.
So with that being said, what are you doing in your car? Where are you heading to?
Yeah, I'm heading back up to Indiana. I come to Indiana a couple times this summer. Different events. This week is the member guest at my dad's golf course. It's the biggest event of his year, biggest event of my year. We play in it every year. It's at Woodland Country Club. It's one of my favorite places where I learned how to play golf. Not necessarily learned, but I guess learned how to score and got a lot better at golf. And I know a bunch of the guys up there, so there's a lot of pride on the line. We've been talking about strategy for a bunch of months now, and it starts tomorrow. So that's why I have to be on the road tonight. I had to work in South Carolina today and then making the trip up there tonight. We'll get in probably around midnight, ready to rock and roll tomorrow.
Now, is this a father-son thing you guys do every year? Like, are you guys part of is it your team, you and your dad against other people?
Yeah, so it's a two-man member guest. You can bring whatever guest he brings me because he's the best. And we just have a blast.
That's awesome.
I'm sure if a bunch of people have played member guests of all different kinds, but you get some one-on-one, but one team against another team match play for 5 matches, and then there's a shootout at the end, and they just put on a really good event, and it's just a bunch of fun. Get some of the competitive juices that I haven't had in a long time. Starting to get into some tournament golf, but it has gotten the juices flowing that I don't get a whole bunch.
Cool. For those of you who don't know, Mitchell Page, and if you have followed us from the previous podcast, you do know this, but if you haven't, Mitchell Page is a former Indiana football player, used to be wide receiver. I don't want him to blush right now, but I mean, why not give a little background? He's not going to brag about himself, right?
I'm just a guy.
He is just.
I'm a guy on a podcast that can't even get good connection to talk to you guys.
Yeah.
Threw a touchdown pass and caught a touchdown pass in the same game against Michigan State. I got that right, didn't I? I'm pretty sure I covered that. I'm pretty sure I covered that game.
Once we get into football season 2, Mitchell says he has a game day ritual that he's going to take us through, and I think that could be very interesting to hear. We'll save that for when we get closer to the beginning of college football.
Well, if we're going to brag, are we not? I mean, we might as well go all the way. If we're going to talk about it, I've played in the NFL for like 4 seconds.
Which
he did play in the NFL.
By the way, so we're recording this. Today is July 19th. I apologize if this is not going to be evergreen, but today is actually Mitchell Page's birthday, and I believe he's now in the 30 club, right?
I am a 30-year-old man as of today.
Recording this on Mitchell Page's 30th birthday. That's pretty cool. Happy birthday.
Welcome to the 30 club. But the reason I brought that up is because today, the NFLPA of former players sent out a happy birthday to everybody whose birthday was today, and Mitchell quote tweeted it and said, "Thank you, NFLPA former players. I have to be the worst player to ever be featured here. So good."
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, some of the comments on that tweet are from like names I recognize. I don't know if there was any Hall of Famers in the tweet, but like legit guys. And I'm just on the I have no idea. There has to be other guys.
Oh my gosh.
He just keeps going in and out.
We'll never know the words of.
Oh,
here we go. He's back. I think.
I was gonna say I think that was a short one. I was just gonna say that was really nice of the NFLPA to do that for me.
That was pretty cool.
Shout out to the NFLPA. All right, we're 15 minutes in. Let's go ahead and jump into our little experiment, our podcast intro experiment. So again, like I said earlier, I've got 4 tracks that I've pieced together. 3 of them are by a guy whose name is Dan Leibowitz, and I think those are pretty fire. The other guy, I think his name was Bobby Renz. So we're going to go through these, and we'll see what Mitchell and Dustin think. What an honor, he was going to say, I believe.
What a ricochet shot at Bobby. You said the first
Bobby
3
Renz
were
may be
fire,
the winner.
And then you said the last one is Bobby. I'm like, what?
Bobby Renz.
That's just a
not just
ricochet
Bobby,
shot
it's
at
Bobby
we haven't even
Renz.
heard it yet.
Well,
Bobby
let's
Renz,
go ahead
Bobby
and
Blends,
dive
whatever.
in.
It doesn't matter what his name is. Okay.
Bobby
Each of
Blends
these-
does sound better.
Each of these are about none of them are more than 45 seconds long. We'll play most, if not all, of each one, and I want to hear Dustin and Mitchell's thoughts on each one. I know the one that's my favorite. I'm curious which ones, and you can be as complimentary or as crass as you want to be about these. So here's the first one. It's my man Dan Leibowitz. Track 1.
It's a good name.
Just listen to that riff. It's got a little bit of country to it, but it's not too twangy.
It sounds like blues to me, like a little bluesy.
A little upbeat blues, yeah.
It's an hour long.
Let's go ahead and fade it out. Make sure
They're
we get
taking
Mitchell's.
the with this thing. Listening to the whole album. We gotta cut that thing in half by just cut it in half, not even by
Yeah, but the timing is different because we'll be talking over the music during the intro, so it'll seem more natural than it does right now.
That's true.
We're learning on the fly.
You're the pro. You're a professional. I'm just a guy that can't find service. I told you that. I'm excited for the second one.
We just want to hear, here we go. We just want to hear your thoughts on each one. This one is actually the Bobby Renz track that apparently I was dissing earlier, but here it is.
Bobby Blends.
Bobby Renz.
Let me tell you something. This would be really good if this podcast was called On the Road with Mitchell Page.
You know, that's not a bad idea. Or if you were near a beach.
I'm getting road trip vibes from this intro. I don't know why.
A little more fade down. Mitchell, you seem like you're at a loss for words with that one. Did it take your breath away? It took his connection away.
I think he's at a loss of connection.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
I just want to
knows
say
what?
I didn't get a chance to mention this earlier, but as we reached the halftime point of our picking a song for our intro, I feel like we should send out a warning. Like, podcasts are never good when you start them. Like, just bear with us. We're going to get better. We're kind of learning on the fly, having to learn this stuff. As you said, John, deal with some of these surprise issues that pop up and learn how to handle it. So we understand that these first couple episodes may not be the best, and we hope by episode 20 that we sound like we actually know what we're doing.
Well, and it's, I mentioned earlier, be comfortable being uncomfortable. And while we're waiting for Mitchell to reconnect too as well, I don't think...
he just sent a text that said, WTF, dude, Kentucky is dumb. So for any Kentucky listeners, the state is dumb, apparently.
Yeah.
North of Lexington, imagine being a Wildcat. I can't.
I can't either. We'll welcome Wildcat fans on this podcast, though. We won't. Maybe we'll trash UK if we have a reason to. I don't know. But Mitchell, were you able to share your thoughts on Bobby Renz's track?
So I actually I didn't like it the first time you played it. That's a little behind the scenes.
Before the show, whenever we were deciding to do this. Yeah.
Yeah. We played it before we did this. And I didn't like it the first time, but Dustin's talking about little road trip vibes. I kind of like it because this is going to be a little bit of a trip. Who knows where we're going to go? I put him at even Steven right now.
Even Steven. All right, moving on. Track 3. This one's called "Moving Up." Again, by the man, the myth, the legend, Dan Leibowitz. I don't know him personally, but he makes some good YouTube music. Very funky track. This was my early favorite whenever I was putting these together earlier.
This feels like some sort of like some stuff's gonna go down in a 90s like raunchy film. Like American Pie, Not Another Teen Movie. I guess maybe early 2000s.
Little little relations action.
Yeah.
I did not have relations with that woman kind of stuff, right?
The Bill Clinton reference.
Yeah, I like that one. I don't think that one's as good as. It's a little too funky for me. I don't think that one's a little or as good as the first two.
All right, now this next one, I actually kind of like this one more so for an outro. It could be used as either or, but I'll let you guys listen and hear your thoughts.
I like this.
The whistling.
Okay, I do not.
I like the whistles. I like the whistles for an outro. This is what made me think it should be an outro track.
Yeah.
Did it kill it? If it killed the vibe, that's okay too. You can say that.
I did not like. I do not like the whistling.
Oh, so man, Danny Lee, Mr. DL. It seems like the whistling in the track was not a favorite. But even though I liked it, but it is what it is.
The first 10 or 15 seconds of that was really good, and then he started whistling.
The whistling.
So are we going? What are we going with?
I think we go with the first two.
And decide again. Let's play brief clips of each one.
Do you have a coin?
I'm not.
One be the intro, one be the outro.
Let's give it a shot. I'm not flipping a coin.
That could be more exciting.
Track 1 again. To me, if we're deciding between this and Bobby Renz, it's nothing against Bobby Renz. I think Bobby Renz is a second place here. This could maybe be the outro, though. I can see this because, like, you mentioned the road trip vibes. You're driving away, kind of off to the sunset kind of thing. Maybe this could be.
You know what? I just got to say, number 2 is growing on me. Bobby Renz, a.k.a. Bobby Blends.
I think that's the first. I think that's the intro, dude. That is sweet.
I think so, too. The first time we heard it, I didn't like it. And now as you keep playing it, I love it.
Maybe we'll go with it. Maybe we'll check them. Maybe the next 2 episodes we'll interchange both of them.
Listen,
and we'll see
man,
how the vibes fit.
I know you like the first one, but you're getting outdone here.
We're going to try both.
We're going to try both.
I like it.
I'm shocked because I was with Mitchell when we did this before we started. I was like, number 2 is bad. But the more you hear it, the better it gets. I don't know why.
Bobby Renz, I don't know where you're at in this world. There's little to no chance that you're going to stumble upon this podcast. But if you do, just know that Mitchell Page was giving you all sorts of grief before we went on the air. And this is before we decided that we were going to choose the intros on the air. And we kind of stopped right in the middle of the second one, which was yours. So Bobby Renz, you've won over Mitchell and Dustin. We'll see where that ends up going. But anyway, this is Out of Touch. And I think we should, one thing that I think I mentioned on the end of This Week in Indiana Football is that the one thing that worried me about titling this podcast Out of Touch is people looking at it and going, what the heck are these guys going to be talking about? Normally the term out of touch has a kind of a negative connotation to it. Like if somebody's out of touch in society, maybe they say things they shouldn't be saying, or they're not really aware of what I guess, how to be a functioning member without being offensive. Is that kind of the best way in saying that? Like, we're not here to be offensive. We're here to be, when I say out of touch, it's more like being out of touch with pop culture. And like the example I was going to say earlier, Dustin's talking about a shag rug. I had no idea that that's what that little piece of carpet was called. And not that that's a piece of pop culture, but like, I'm a 25-year-old man. I feel like I should know what that is.
I don't know. A shag rug is like from the 70s. That's what I picture.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of like, I don't know if it's technically...
You're a young lad. I just turned 30. I learned what a shag rug was this morning.
Oh, okay.
I'm 35. I've known what a shag rug is my entire life, basically.
But does that make sense though? Like, I think that's the biggest, especially as we grow listeners. I don't want people to think that we're going to come on here and using like racial slurs and crap like that. Like, that's not the type of out of touch that this is. You know?
No, we're out of touch because we're assuming that we're going to grow listeners.
That's probably the most accurate thing we've said today.
Preposterous as we grow listeners. Have you listened to us talk? We're the dumbest guys there are.
Oh, are you getting pulled over? If you're on YouTube, the flashing red and blue lights we just saw in the background, you're not getting pulled over, right?
Honestly, I wish I was. I'd at least have good service for a second.
I'd tell you what, it'd be a wonderful... Honestly, I'm sure the police officer wouldn't appreciate it, but the fact that we are recording it it'd be a great thing to have on the first episode.
License
so if you want to maybe pick up your speed by a few miles an hour, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would be super out of touch because I would probably be going to jail.
I think you'd be all right. Just tell them you play. Well, no, you're not in the right state for that.
No,
you can't You can't say I played at Indiana and get by with that. That's not going to work.
I'd probably get arrested faster.
Maybe you would. All right, we're going to go ahead and get into one thing. And depending on, this may be the only thing we talk about because it's a very interesting, and I don't even really know where this came from. Our friend Dustin Schutte, he sent both me and Mitchell and I, if we're being grammatically correct here, he sent us this video.
No, wait. Okay, so I've had a question about this. Isn't it, and I'm supposed to be the writer, and I'm supposed to know this stuff. But I think, isn't it, he sent it to Mitchell and me, or me and Mitchell, because you would use...
Maybe I do know there are some weird discrepancies with that.
You would change it.
Yeah. We were lied to in elementary school. Not that.
Yeah.
More often,
I think it's
him and me.
I think if you would take Mitchell out, you would say he sent it to me. So then you just include Mitchell and you keep me instead of changing it to I. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You learn something new every day. I'm down. And honestly, I'll probably forget that after we finish this, and I'll still use it incorrectly.
That's what you get at Outsider Sports. Outsider.com.
Right.
That's it.
Anyway, so Dustin sent us this video, and it was one of the most... I mean, I've seen a lot of obscure things in my life, so I don't want to say it's the most obscure thing I've ever seen, but I definitely didn't know that there was such a thing called hobby horsing. And Dustin sent us both this video of these people who are in this Finnish, so like it was in Finland. It was a championship competition of this thing called hobby horsing. And I guarantee you've never heard of it. If you have, props to you. But these people who are competing in this, they're essentially riding on like they're not real horses. They're like little stick horses that these people have created, and they're jumping over obstacles, and it kind of reminded me of like a dog show, except they're humans and they're not riding real horses.
Imagine Happy Gilmore, when he hits a good shot and he starts riding his club around. Imagine that, but instead of the club, it's basically a wooden sock puppet is what this thing is. And apparently they do this for championships in Finland. I don't know. I assume money's involved. There's a cash bag at stake. I don't know. Seem to be
Have
a lot
you
of
guys
fans
ever
there.
been to a horse show?
No.
I've been to the fair.
You've never been to a horse show. So, okay, so my sister was big into horses, did a bunch of Western style horse shows. So like barrel racing and some other stuff that I can't remember. The barrel racing's the big one. But on the other side, there's Western style and then English style. English is like the jumping and it's real proper. So I think it's really important when you're watching them walk, they're like pointing their toes like they're the horse. That's what they're trying to emulate how they like fancy. It's English riding without the horse. I don't understand. Like this is bad to say, but there's probably people that just couldn't afford a horse.
It probably
Like,
is true.
I like that. I can't buy that, but I like that. We should start doing that. And now that was 250 years ago, and now we're doing it for money.
To your point here, listen to this, Mitchell. This goes well with what you just said. This description of hobby horsing says it gives kids and teenagers who don't have horses a chance to interact with them outside of stables and riding schools. So I think you're right on the money with that.
But they're not interacting with it. It's essentially a sock puppet.
But
Like,
you're
they're not-
learning the fundamentals. You're learning how to like walk your horse, trot, like the pacing of everything.
Why wouldn't you just go to like a horse camp where they've got like 8 different horses and everybody can walk around with the horse? There's
You know
horse
how much
farms
horse
out
camp
there.
is?
Why don't we set up a free foundation? Horse camp
Horses are
foundation.
terrifying. Horses are scary. You ever been around horses?
I have been around horses. I've fed horses.
Ugh.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure horses just eat money.
Well, I
It
think
would
that's
be-
probably true.
It would be more cost effective to just feed horses dollar bills than hay.
Could you imagine if instead of now I want a hobby horse Kentucky Derby?
Oh my gosh.
Could you imagine people just sprinting
Those
around the
people-
track?
Dead. Because isn't that like a mile and a half or something? They would be
2.5.
It's a lot.
Oh, they would be dead. Dead. That would be. I would pay money to watch that.
That would be
I don't know
incredible.
how much money. Not very much money, but I would pay some entrance fee to watch that.
Another
just,
fun
like-
fact, apparently only girls can participate in this. Like if young Mitchell or young Dustin wanted to be a hobby horse competitor, I don't know if it's only, I guess it's in Finland. You
Can't
can't
do it.
you can't do it with men, apparently. It's only women.
Why?
I don't know.
Okay, why?
I have a question that may be controversial and hopefully is not taken in a bad way.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Speaking of top of mind, I mean, just the way the world is now, let's say there is a cash bag at the end. Is there a similar argument being made like the guy that is now a girl that won all the swimming championships?
Some transgender hobby horsing. I don't know.
Yeah. If there's money at the end, is there, but would you be, I don't know if you would have quite the advantage, because obviously there's a big advantage in swimming or in basketball or something. That's just genetics. But in hobby horsing, is it, I don't know. And I hope this isn't taken wrong, but that is the first thing I think of. And that's welcome to 2023.
I'm just confused as to why, if they're trying to, like, if the goal is to expose more children to horses, which sounds like is the goal here, why would you not open it up to everybody? And I don't know the answer to this. Like, what's the word? Equestrianism? Is that more of a sport geared towards women in Europe? I don't know the answer. I'm just asking the question. It's just very interesting that you would not allow boys to ride a fake horse in a competition in their own like league.
And maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah,
I am getting this off of Wikipedia. First of all, I'm really surprised that there's a Wikipedia page for this. I didn't think I was going to be
There's a
able to find
Wikipedia
one.
page for anything, John. There's a Wikipedia page about me.
Is there
There's a
one? If I search
Wikipedia
Mitchell Page, let's take a look right now. Is there a Mitchell Page?
Well, the first guy is going to be the guy that won the Medal of Honor. And I
Yeah,
think
the
we've
U.S.
discussed
Marine
that guy
Corps.
before.
U.S. Marine Corps.
Yeah, he has a Medal of
colonel.
Honor. Yeah, I think he was at
You do
like
not
Guadalcanal
have-
or something.
Unless your first name is Judith, then you don't have a Wikipedia page.
Ooh, got deleted. That's tough.
Judith
Now it's
Page
gonna be-
Mitchell. I don't know. Either way, maybe they realized
It
how
got
inaccurate.
deleted.
Yeah, who knows? Anyway, yeah. So that's hobby horsing, and kind of transitioning into something. Dustin, I know you recently went to the zoo, the Indianapolis Zoo,
did.
correct?
Yeah, I did.
Didn't you get to pet some exotic animals? I know you were talking about this on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. You were excited about it. Jim was kind of giving you some grief. I don't understand why, but he was. What is it you got to do at the zoo or whatever it was?
So, for people that haven't been there recently, I didn't know this. It used to be at the Fort Wayne Zoo, and I think it probably is still there, but they've also opened one up at the Indianapolis Zoo. So, what I was talking about on Indiana Sports Beat was there is an exhibit that you can walk through where you're just out with the kangaroos. Like you walk on a sidewalk and you're out there with the kangaroos. And if they get close enough to you, you can pet them. Not on the face, but on the back. Because I'm guessing if you touch them in the face, they're going to punch you or kick you or something. I don't know.
Did they have boxing gloves?
No, but that would have been quite the sight to see. See a couple kangaroos. Like, I got boxing gloves, but I didn't take them with me. I'll fight a kangaroo if I have to.
That thing would whoop you in its sleep.
I'm aware, but it would get me like 1 million YouTube hits. Idiot gets punched by kangaroo wearing boxing gloves.
That's fact. In the video, the picture I have in my head of that is actually hilarious.
So yeah, date at the zoo. We walked through the kangaroos. Now none of them were out, or one of them was close, but you couldn't reach your arm out. You had to be like Stretch Armstrong, couldn't reach. But then we watched an elephant get a bath. And after the elephant got all cleaned up, they said, okay, so it's a special day here at the Indianapolis Zoo. You guys can come on up and you'll get to touch this elephant. And I never had gotten to touch an elephant before. So it was basically like I was on an African safari, but safe and away from danger. So we got to pet an elephant. So that was pretty cool. And then if you also go to the Indianapolis Zoo, you're also almost always able to pet the stingrays and the sharks. So we also were able to do that.
I haven't been to that
By the
zoo
way,
in forever. That zoo's so good.
It's a good zoo. I will say that there's a lot of construction, a lot of things not happening. And also the orangutan exhibit, if you've been, if the orangutans are active, it's awesome. If they're just inside, it sucks. That's probably the biggest draw of that place. But what would you imagine an elephant would feel like?
I'm picturing like a lizard.
A lizard?
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why. Like the back of a lizard. It's a little bumpy but rough.
Yeah. I'm
Okay,
kind of in the
so-
same boat.
Okay, so the one thing that I wasn't expecting is it was, very dry, very rough, but they also have very fine, prickly hair. You wouldn't expect, you don't see that on an elephant, but they are mammals, right? So they have prickly hair.
Him and the woolly mammoth.
There you go.
Are those even related? They have to be, right?
I would think so. I don't know. I don't.
That would be
what's
wild if they weren't related and they both came out like that.
What does Wikipedia say about the woolly mammoth and the elephant? We don't have
How
that up.
similar are they? Are they
We
like
need a research
humans
team.
and chimps? Humans and chimps are like 99.6% similar or something. So what are elephants and woolly guys?
Woolly guys.
I'm looking at the woolly mammoth Wikipedia page, and I don't know how long it's going to take me to find. Oh, here we go. It actually does have an evolutionary chart, and it looks like it goes from mastodons. Actually, no, I don't know how to read this. I just know that it looks like the woolly mammoth is at the top, and it eventually turns into an elephant. So,
All right, well,
So
that's our answer. Sounds like you do know how to read it.
but it's just a bunch of.
So
hold on, here we go.
mastodon was somewhere in between.
No,
I thought a
mastodons
was
were
a
first.
Isn't a
Mastodons
mastodon
were
a shark?
first. There's
No,
a bunch
that's
of things I don't know how
megalodon.
to pronounce. I don't know what a Gomphotheris is or a Stegodontid is, but I do know what an African elephant is, and I know what a straight tusked elephant is. And apparently, actually, here we go. Asian elephants and mammoths are a part of the same family. I don't know. Why are we doing this? Why? Wikipedia is not. I mean, I'm not blaming Wikipedia. I just don't know how to read these charts. But
I
either
would
way,
blame Wikipedia. They try to ask me for
No.
money every couple months. I'm not paying
That's
Wikipedia
true.
to stay in touch. I'm just going to use the information for free.
I'll tell you what, one thing that would really be a disappointment if I know they do these dumb little donations all the time. If Wikipedia genuinely ever just went away, I think I'd be a little upset about that.
Am I a sucker? I give them $2.50 every time they ask.
You're kidding. I don't believe that for a second.
I swear. I've probably given them like 30 total dollars over the course of my life.
Are you serious?
$2.50 every time. They say $2.50 helps the site run for like 3 weeks.
You're keeping Wikipedia in business. Mitchell
You're
Page
welcome.
is an investor in Wikipedia.
You're welcome. I do. Every time they ask, $2.50. Dink, thanks for coming.
That's easily the best thing I've heard today.
It is. There's probably no. That makes me think that if you're doing, there's probably a lot more people out there that are doing it. So obviously, this fundraising is working.
It's only $30. It's been like 10 years.
Okay, so this just points to my experiment that I want to do sometime. I feel like, okay, I always make the joke that I think everybody in America should give me $1, right? Then I don't have to do anything. I feel like if I set up a GoFundMe and it reached the entire country and saw eyeballs everywhere, I have no doubt I would get $10,000 just from people that are like, yeah, I'll give this guy $1. At
Yeah.
That's easy. That's way under. I would
You
put
think
the
that's
over-under
under?
at 1 million.
You think 1 million people would donate?
If you could guarantee that everyone in America saw that, over-under is at 1 million, and I still think that's low.
It's close. I mean, hopefully. I mean, it would be a weird little experiment. A lot of people would probably think you're insane for doing something like that. They probably call you a communist. But
I'm not being a communist. I'm taking advantage. Like, I'm not. This is the thing. Like, I would put full description. Like, I'm not using this money for any good causes. This is not going to anything, any sort of charity. This is going straight to me. I would be upfront and direct and just be like, just give me $1 that I can use. I want to see how many people will donate. And I thought 10,000 would be a good number. I'm like, I could do a lot of things with $10,000, but
I should do that. I'll pay off the rest of my student loans if I can get.
Why doesn't the Out of Touch podcast start a GoFundMe?
There we go.
Share that. I'll share it immediately.
What are they funding?
They're funding the same thing Wikipedia's funding, our pocketbooks.
You just say Out of Touch needs your help to stay afloat. Please consider.
We can lie and say that we're helping Mitchell's connection, his connectivity issues.
Facts. They could pay my entry fees to all these golf tournaments.
There we go. I like it. Content.
That's facts.
All right, I do want to get into one more thing before we wrap this up. And I know we're normally going to try to end around 45-ish to an hour, and we're kind of coming up on that. But there's one more story, and I'm bringing it up because it came out today, which if you're listening, it's not today. It's July 19th. But I'm curious if Dustin or Mitchell saw this and what their thoughts are about who I'm about to talk about. And that is the band Creed officially announced that they are going to reunite after 11 years of being split up. And their very first ever performance will be next spring when they host their Summer of '99 cruise. So you can pay money to go on this cruise with Creed and a bunch of other bands like Three Doors Down, Tantric. I don't have the list in front of me. A bunch of other bands from that era, the late 90s, early 2000s. And it's kind of like a reunion cruise experience or something like that for the band Creed, which I know for those of you listening, I guarantee you more than most of you, or most of you, all of you, even potentially, don't like the band Creed. A lot of people put them into the same bill as like a Nickelback, and that's totally fine. I love both of them, but I've never seen Creed live. I don't think I would get on a cruise to go see them, but it's still interesting.
It sounds kind of like a nightmare. I don't want to be trapped on a boat with any live performer. Here's the thing. So I've told you this, John, and I give you a hard time because it's the popular thing to do. I don't think Nickelback is as bad as what I think people trash Nickelback because it's popular to trash Nickelback, and so then it just spiraled. I like some of their songs. They're not my favorite band. I went to a Nickelback concert attempting to go on a date, but I got stood up, so that didn't work out well. So maybe there's some animosity there from that.
We could talk about that sometime too.
We could. It was a great time for me. But anyway, but I generally don't like Creed has one song and it's not good.
What is a Creed song? I don't even know a single one.
Can
Higher,
you
100%,
take
yes.
me higher?
Oh, that song rocks.
Great
Oh,
vocals
boy.
right there. Give him a record
Thank you.
deal right now.
Right now. But see, what else do they have? I don't even know
They
any
have,
other
My
songs.
Own Prison is easily my favorite song by them. It's one of their older ones from probably the album before they got super big. They have My Sacrifice. That was another really popular one. And what else? Weathered was another one that was really good. And I'm talking about just mainstream hits, obviously. I'm not going into the deep cuts and all the stuff that I like, but those are some of their bigger ones.
I have never heard any of those songs except for the Can You Take Me Higher.
I bet you have though, and I'm just not gonna sing them like Dustin did.
Why?
Because we're not doing that right now.
No, I have never heard them. How am I gonna know?
You've heard of Creed. You are 30 years old. You have heard of Creed.
You gotta sing the song. I heard it. I knew it immediately when Dustin sang it.
I would
donate $2.50 to my GoFundMe, and I'll sing My Sacrifice.
I would bet that I've heard some of those songs. That Higher is the only one I can place off the top.
Yeah, and that's the one that turned into a meme when they always show the halftime performance at Thanksgiving with the people flying over the stage or whatever it was.
Yep.
That song is a banger. I'm more interested in the Three Doors Down.
Oh, yeah, no, I love both of those. Three Doors Down's good too.
Three Doors Down did have some good hits. Yeah.
Yeah. So Mitchell, would you go on a boat to see any band? Doesn't even have to be Creed, but if your favorite band was hosting a cruise, would you do it?
My favorite band is Justin Bieber, so heck yeah.
No,
I
it's
would
not.
fly. What?
Prove to me right now that your favorite artist is Justin Bieber.
He's gonna sing
You want me
"Baby."
to pull up my Spotify most played?
Go ahead. Your favorite artist is Justin Bieber. Maybe I shouldn't pass judgment.
Is this real?
Yeah. I mean, if you get over yourself and listen to his songs, yeah, they're unreal. Like, what are we even talking about?
Okay, see, here would be the problem about going to see any band on a cruise is you would have to deal with all of those major fans.
I think it'd be sick. The interactions that you could have, those people are off their rockers.
If it was like a booze cruise where you go out for the day and then you come back at night, I would do that. But in terms of a week-long cruise, I don't think
this is like you board in Miami and you go to the Bahamas and then you come back.
Oh, that's like 3 days. That's a perfect time.
Do I get to get off the boat on the Bahamas?
I'm sure you do at some point.
Okay, then yes, I could do that. I thought you meant I'm just stuck in the ocean with a bunch of crazy people.
You're not going to prison.
You're going to my own prison, but
Is that the Creed song?
It is. Oh, and there he disappeared. There he is.
My dad just called. He's making sure that I'm still alive and driving. So now you're making him worried on my birthday.
Yeah. Well, I'll go ahead and say this real quick. I'm not going to be buying tickets. I think it'd be cool to do it. It's going to be way too expensive, but I think that this is just going to be the beginning of kind of their back.
It sounds
what do you call it? A reunion. They're going to do this cruise, and then I bet they tour. That's my guess.
It sounds a little Fire Fest. Got a little Fire
This
Fest.
but this isn't some unknown weirdo who's putting this together. This is they've officially announced this.
Well, other bands officially announced they were going to Fire Fest, and then they backed out. So,
but the whole issue with that was the guy who was promoting it. The issue with it was the promoter.
That's true.
Did that guy ever go to jail or anything, or is he just like good?
I think he did. I think he did go to jail.
He should go to jail. Can you imagine?
He should.
I can't imagine.
All right. What are any final thoughts before we wrap this edition up?
Yes, Mitchell. What's your favorite birthday cake flavor?
I like just chocolate with vanilla icing or a cookie cake.
I like that.
I'm about as plain Jane as it gets when it comes to eating.
Same.
I don't need to go to a fancy restaurant. We were talking about it. I just joined a golf course. We're actually moving to Charlotte. That's some news.
Oh, wow.
So I will no longer be in Charleston. I'll be on the north side of Charlotte by Lake Norman and joined a golf course up there. And we are making a budget to see how finances would look if we did it. And it was kind of sad. I like doing like 2 or 3 things. Hanging out with my wife, Laura, and golfing. And that's it. That's it. So I'm plain, like I don't need restaurants. I don't need fancy food. We go to a new city. I'm good to just eat something plain. So birthday cake, same thing. Cookie cake or chocolate with vanilla icing.
There you have it. Mitchell Page. He's plain Jane. He listens to Justin Bieber, and he donates to Wikipedia's fundraisers.
Which is my bet.
Gets deeper and deeper.
That's my favorite.
And this is only episode 1.
I will. There's some other art. You ever heard of John Bellion? He's probably someone that is a little.
Ooh, I do know John Bellion, and I know him for one reason. He did a song with rapper B.O.B., who I used to be really into, a song called Violence. And John Bellion. You see, B.O.B. got really weird, though, when he started doing all this flat earth crap. That's what kind of got him in, not really into trouble, but people stopped, I guess, listening to him at that point.
That'll happen.
You know what we should do? We should do like a top 3 or 4 albums of all time, any genre.
Oh, I'd love to do that. That's definitely my wheelhouse. Maybe we'll do that next episode. Dustin, you got any final thoughts?
No, man. The only thing I'll disagree with you guys, I need restaurants. I need good. That's my thing, right? Like, I don't do it a whole lot either, but I got to have good food, good wine, good bourbon.
You put on a suit to eat a steak.
That's right.
I did.
He's a man of.
Hey, we went to a really nice place here in Plainfield. Sorry, I know we're closing this out, but real quick, they turned an old movie theater in Plainfield, which is on the west side of Indianapolis, into a restaurant. And the cocktails and the food there, it was some of the best I've ever had. And this is it's up there with St. Elmo's.
Okay.
So there you go. That's
Mitchell
my
looking at Dustin as if he just said something blasphemous.
It's called the Pruitt. Go to it.
I mean, that's just a wild take. I'm not even a big St. Elmo's guy, but people from outside Indianapolis say their number 1 place in Indy, it's always St. Elmo's. So what a ringing endorsement. Hopefully we can get a sponsorship from those guys. Maybe they'll donate to our GoFundMe.
Yeah, there we go. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up. For those of you who stayed with us through this lovely first episode of Out of Touch, through all of the connection issues, and it wasn't through all of us. It's mainly just because of travel. It's not because any of us were doing anything we weren't supposed to be. Mitchell's on the road, and that's just the way that it is. He's going to be mysterious. He's going to jump in and out of streams sometimes, and you never know where he's going to pop up at. Some days he's going to be in Indiana. Some days he'll be back in the Carolinas. You may see him in freaking Melbourne, Australia, or Hong Kong or something.
Or in
Maybe.
a Finnish hobby horse contest.
Or doing a
can't
Finnish
participate.
hobby horse competition. He'll be the only male participating or something like that. I don't know, but
They'll probably all be as big as me, so I'll fit right in.
all right, that'll do for this episode. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening. This has been Out of Touch.